Welcome to our virtual yoga class. We'll go ahead and begin class laying on our backs. Make your way there. We'll settle in to a mini Shavasana, legs long, palms facing up towards the ceiling. Anywhere from 5 to 10 breaths here. We're gathering our breath, inviting that deep belly breath. Belly expands. And an optional exhale, sigh it out. See if you can continuously shift your attention to your breath over the next 5 to 10 breaths. Inhaling and exhaling. You're checking in with both your breath and your body. Seeing where your thoughts are, just observing them. By all means, throughout the yoga class, if you do have other thoughts, that's part of the process. You're not doing yoga incorrectly. But we are training our mind to shift into this present moment and observe what's there. You'll soften your neck and your shoulders, down your spine and hips to your toes. Gather a deep breath. We tend to have more shallow breathing throughout our day. We're practicing that deeper long breath right now. Noticing that we're cultivating a practice that bridges the physical, mental, emotional body. Inhaling, receiving what supports us. Exhaling, letting go what does not support us. Feel free to hear your inhale and hear your exhale. About 1 to 2 more breaths here. And then we'll start to invite a full body stretch, lifting our arms up overhead, interlacing our fingers. So you're pointing your toes here. Make sure that you point your toes. Our ankles and toes tend to not get a lot of attention. You can lift your abdomen up towards the ceiling, invite a stretch there. You can focus on your arms and shoulders, gently waking up the body. And then release your hands. We'll continue with a restorative pose. Let's bend our knees, feet float off the floor, and then shift into a twist. Perhaps dropping your knees towards the left, turning your head towards the right, bringing your arms out to a T. Gather your breath, inhale and exhale. So learning to soften and relax the body is a process, and it does take time to cultivate that ability. As we move throughout our bodies can become a little tense. So as you're laying here, notice that you can soften the body, neck and shoulders down to the hips. We're appreciating those moments of slowing down. Take a comfortable breath. Sometimes it's difficult to invite that deep belly breathing in a twist. So invite a comfortable breath here as you're simultaneously relaxing throughout the spine and hips. Seeing where can you soften just 10% further. Another breath here. Start to bring your knees back to center. Drop your knees towards the right, turn your head towards the left. Eyes open or closed, very purposely softening neck, shoulders, down the spine to your hips. Perhaps even imagining your knees fall further towards the floor. Gather your breath here and see where can you soften just 10% further. Invite that comfortable breath. And then knees start to come back to center, head is neutral. Start to bend of both knees and lengthen both legs up towards the ceiling. Noticing a gentle stretch here throughout the legs as you lengthen your legs as much as you can. You can even bring your thighs closer towards your belly, your chest. Hold here, one breath, inhale, exhale. Start to plant your palms on the mat. Release your legs and then hover about a foot or 2 feet off the mat and hold. So activate strength here in your glutes and quads to support you. There's a lot of core strength here too. Be careful with your lower back. Hold the pose and then release. Once you release, take one breath, soften around the tailbone. Second round out of 3, bend your knees, lengthen your legs up towards the ceiling. For a moment here, point your toes downwards towards you, press your heels up towards the ceiling. That's going to invite a gentle stretch throughout the calf. Hold. Take a breath there. And then second round, slowly release your legs. Find that point to hover. Activate glutes and quads and core strength. You can plant your palms firmly on the floor, your fingertips especially, for extra support. And then release. Soften your tailbone, take a breath. Last round, bend your knees, lengthen your legs. Take a moment to point your toes downwards towards you the best that you can. Heels point up towards the ceiling. Stretch there in the calf muscle. You're starting to activate around the quads. Quad and glute strength, core strength start to release and hover. You're going to stay here an extra breath. Inhale here, exhale. Another breath. And release your heels down towards the floor. Now let's protect that tailbone by bending our knees. Let's take our hands towards our knees and rock to the left and to the right. I'm going to protect there around the lower back, around the tailbone. We just created a little bit of intensity there. And then release both feet on the floor. Rest that right ankle on top of your left thigh. Weave your right hand between your legs. Interlace your fingers behind that left thigh and hold. Now you're noticing that stretch in the right hip, but you can bring your thigh closer towards your belly, your chest here. Hold. You're noticing where that boundary is. Breathe into that boundary and see if you can fold just a little bit more. And it can always be very subtle. To the best of your ability, neck and shoulders are relaxed. You want to draw your shoulders away from your ears here. One more breath. Release that right foot. Now left ankle rests on top of your right thigh, and then weave your left hand between your legs and interlace your fingers right behind that thigh. Hold here. Bring your thigh closer towards your belly, your chest, and hold. Inhale and exhale. Notice your boundary. Breathe into that space. By breathing into that space, that means you're breathing into that flexibility there around that left hip. You can open up more. Bring your thigh closer towards your belly. You're opening around the hip. You're also opening throughout the glute and lower back. Hold. And then release. Keep your knees bent, feet float off the floor, and then once more, let's rock to the left, to the right. So onto the lower back. And now start to extend your legs out. Plant your hands on the floor. Lengthen your spine, flex your feet. You can invite a little bend to your knees and fold. Let's focus a little bit more on those hamstrings. As you're focusing on those hamstrings, you're focusing on dropping your belly towards the floor and keeping your spine long. The goal is not to reach your toes. The goal is to keep a nice flat back. As you flex your feet, you're stretching a little bit more throughout the length of the legs. Now, if you want to soften that stretch, you can relax your feet. 5 breaths. Inhaling here, exhaling. Once more, being purposeful with the breath to assist you here. Feel free to hear your inhale and exhale. This actually is a yogic practice. Inhaling and exhaling where it's audible. One more breath. Release the pose. Shift into a cross-legged position. Let's come into a twist. Take that right hand and grip that left knee. Twist towards the left. Hold. And then release. Left hand over that right knee. Twist towards the right. Inhale. Exhale. Come back to center. Let's shift into our tabletop position. Hands right beneath our shoulders. Knees, hips width distance apart. We're shifting that stretch into the shoulders and arms. Lifting that left arm up towards the ceiling. So here I'm very purposely lengthening my arm as much as I can and then shifting that shoulder back. Don't forget your breath, deep belly breath. And then release. Opposite side, right arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale. Release your hand down towards the floor. Lengthen that left leg, bend your knees, stack your hips, round your spine, knee towards your chest, chin towards your chest. Press through your palms, you hover. And now lengthen your leg once more. And then balance, lift that right arm up. You can either take your gaze forward or take your gaze down towards the floor. Release your right hand. Release, or actually round your spine and knee towards your chest, chin towards chest. Hover. Lengthen your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Last time, you round our spine, knee towards chest, and then drop your knee on the floor. Resume a neutral position with your spine and your head. Opposite side, lengthen that right leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. You can distribute that weight on your palms, your fingertips. Now round your spine and knee towards chest, chin towards chest. Lengthen your leg, it's parallel to the floor. Lift your left arm up. You're lifting your core up towards the ceiling. Press into that right palm for support. Chest is open, left shoulder is away from your ear. Either gaze forward or gaze down towards the floor. Release your hand, bend your knee, stack your hips. Round your spine. Knee towards your chest, chin towards your chest. Release your knee on the floor. Resume a neutral position. One round cow pose. And one round cat pose. Rounding your spine here. Tucking your chin towards your chest.
Start to lift back up into lift up into a downward facing dog. Hold that down dog. Inhale, exhale. Plank pose, release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. Tops of the feet are on the floor. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath here in your downward facing dog. And then shift into your plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Gather and inhale up into your upward facing dog. And then exhale, down dog. As a reminder, you can always take a tabletop as an alternative to a downward facing dog. Plank pose. We'll move to this vinyasa again. Release down towards the floor. And then inhale up, upward facing dog. Down dog. Generous breath here. Fourth round out of 5 rounds. Plank pose. You can move at your own pace here. Release down towards the floor. Elbows remain close to your torso. Inhale up into your upward facing dog. So nice extension there throughout the spine. You're stretching throughout the abdomen. Exhale, downward facing dog. Gather your breath here. 1 to 3 breaths. Last round. Plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. And then down dog. Once in that downward facing dog, lift your left leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. And now left knee towards that left elbow, hover, and then lengthen again, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot down towards the floor. Opposite side, lift that right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Right knee towards that right elbow, hover. And now lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot down towards the floor. Invite a generous breath, deep belly breath. You can exhale, side out. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. And then distributing your weight evenly around the edges of your feet and heels, start to shift up into your mountain pose. We'll sweep our arms up overhead. You're grounding through your heels, arms lift up. We'll check in with our breath. Practicing that more difficult part of yoga, that stillness. We'll take 3 breaths here. Inhale and exhale. At any point, inhaling here, exhaling, sighing it out. Eyes can be open or closed. 3rd round, inhale up. Exhale, release. Release your hands. Shift into a chair pose, bend your knees. So as we shift into our chair pose, first check your feet. See your feet are about hips width distance apart. Now there are variations of chair pose where you bring both feet together. So if you feel more comfortable that way, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I like to teach hips width distance apart, just as our mountain pose is. And then bend your knees, lift your arms. So as I'm in this chair pose, I'm lifting my tailbone for some extra support and then bending my knees. And I'm powerfully radiating my arms out. So you want to spread your fingertips. And then notice if your shoulders are up to your ears, draw them down. Chest is open. Breathe into your glutes and your quads. Ground through your heels. The very grounding pose. Hold the pose. Release down towards the floor. Now hands to your shins. Inhale halfway up. Now my back is flat. There's a little bend to my knee. Exhale, release. Now as I release, my neck is soft. Head is relaxed. 2nd round, inhale halfway up. I'm breathing into my hamstrings here. Exhale, release. 3rd round, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. This time, we're going to roll up slowly. It's a good purposeful practice here of noticing that physical sensation of letting go on our torso. So our legs are active, supporting this very relaxed torso. It's a nice paradox in the body. Hands can bring your hips. Active mountain pose. That means your core is strong. If I try to move you, it'd be difficult to do so. Gather your breath. Inhale. Exhale. 2nd breath. Exhale. As we welcome our breath, we're welcoming our experience. We're
Throughout the class, we're continuously bridging the physical, mental, emotional body, using our breath to assist us in strength, flexibility, and balance. Shift into your chair pose, a pose of strength here. Use a deep inhale, a deep belly breath to support you in this pose. Make sure you're radiating your arms out, palms are spread, fingertips are spread. Lift your tailbone for extra support. Hold. Release your hands down towards the floor, hands to your hips. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Second round, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release, softening the neck. Last round, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Your choice, how you come up to standing, make it your practice. Both ways of lifting up to standing creates a different inner experience. Same thing with your mountain pose. Hands can meet in front of your heart center, or you can frame your hands or your hips with your hands. Inhale here, exhale, one breath. Chair pose, bend your knees. So this time, take your hands in front of your heart center. We're going to twist towards the right. Hold. Back to center, opposite side. Hold. Release down towards the floor. Inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Step back into your plank pose. We're going to move through our vinyasa. Hands are grounded right beneath our shoulders. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up. Upward facing dog. Tops of the feet on the floor. And then lift up. Downward facing dog. Lift that right leg. Bend that right knee. Stack your hips. And then right knee edges towards that left elbow. Hover. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Invite a generous breath. And now lift your left leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Left knee shifts towards that right elbow. Hover, generous breath. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Once more, that generous breath. And then release your foot down towards the floor and then sit down into a child's pose. Knees on the floor, either knees close together or towards the edges of your mat. Forehead reaches towards the floor. About 5 breaths here. Inhale and exhale, softening the body, opening the hips. Inhaling, receiving anything that supports you. Exhaling, releasing anything that does not. Deep belly breath. Start to release your child's pose. Ground your hands on the mat. We'll shift up into our downward facing dog. If you want a more active class, go ahead and take your vinyasa. Plank pose down towards the floor. Inhale up. If you're in your down dog, take a generous breath. And then now take your gaze between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. And then from here, lift up into a chair pose. So your knees are bent. You're grounding through your heels. And radiate your arms forward. Inhale here. Exhale. Hands to your heart center. And then lift up. Mountain pose. Right hand pressing against left hand pressing against right hand. Gather your breath. Inhale here. Exhale. Sigh it out. Start to lengthen your legs into a wide-legged forward fold, or we're preparing for a wide-legged forward fold.
So your stance is wide to a point that's comfortable. Your toes are faced towards the front or very subtly inward, just a little bit. See what feels comfortable for you. Make sure you're distributing that weight on your heels. We're going to take our hands to our hips and then fold halfway. Breathe into your glutes and your hamstrings behind your knees. And then fold all the way down into your forward fold. Options here with your hands. Hands can grip, or fingers can grip your toes. You can cup your elbows with your hands, or hands can rest on the mat or on the floor. Hold here. You can invite a little bend to your knees. Make sure your knees are not locked. And then lift, and then take 3 breath cycles. Feel free to hear your inhale and your exhale. Drop your belly towards the floor. One more breath. Take your hands to your hips, lift halfway up, and then all the way up. Now keep your stance wide. We're going to take our right toes to face the right, so your heel is shifting towards, or points down towards you, and then right heel towards the right. So now you can start to bend your knees, nice comfortable 90-degree bend. I'm dropping my tailbone here, once again activating my glutes and my quads, very grounding pose. Hands either in front of your heart center or palms facing each other, arms lifted. Concentrate on a point across the floor or the room. Sit a little deeper. Shoulders away from your ears. And then release the pose. Second round of our wide-legged forward fold. Shift your toes forward or very slightly inwards. Fold halfway. Now we're going to interlace our fingers behind us. And then we're very purposely drawing our shoulder blades closer together. Fold halfway and then all the way down. Your elbows shoot out behind you. Now you can remain here. You're inviting that upper body stretch, stitching those shoulder blades closer together. Or release your hands towards the floor. And a little bend to your knees. 3 deep belly breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Take your hands to your hips. Lift halfway and then all the way up. And then last round of our goddess pose. Right toes to the right, left toes to the left. Bend your knees, hands in front of your heart center, or you lift your arms up overhead. Draw your shoulders down, inhale and exhale. Inhale, keep your gaze steady. In any of these poses, we're always noticing that relationship of effort and ease in each pose. Breathe through your heels and quads, the length of your core, up to your fingertips. One more breath. And then release the pose, lengthening your legs. And then last wide-legged forward fold. Point your toes forward. Your choice if you want to invite that upper body stretch and interlace your fingers behind you. Or you can just drop your hands down towards the floor. Or like what I'll do here is cup my elbows with my hands. Inhale and exhale. Practice softening the torso, softening the neck. Inviting a little bend to your knees. Breathing from your heels, the backs of your legs. One more breath. Release your hands, lift halfway, forward, and then all the way up. Shift back up into your mountain pose, chair pose, bend your knees, hands in front of your heart center, twist towards the right, and then twist the opposite direction, towards the left. Knees are bent, you're grounded through your heels. Release down towards the floor. Inhale halfway up once. Exhale, release, step back, plank pose. Release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. We'll lift our right leg, bend our knees, stack our hips. Right knee towards that right elbow. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Right knee towards that left elbow. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. And then release your foot back down towards the floor. Invite a generous breath here. And then lift your left leg, bend your left knee, stack your hips. Left knee towards that left elbow, hover. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. At any point, taking a generous breath here. And now left knee towards that right elbow. Lifting your core up towards the ceiling. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Nice breath. Release your foot back down towards the floor. In that downward facing dog, shift into your plank pose, hold your plank pose, and now release your belly all the way down towards the floor. You have two options here. You can either shoot your fingers out behind you, or interlace your fingers, purposely draw your shoulder blades closer together. Feet float off the floor, 5 rounds, inhale up. Exhale, release. Use that inhale to help find that lift. Be gentle with your lower back. Inhale up. And then when you reach that 5th round, you're going to stay there an extra breath. Inhale and exhale. Second cycle of breath, your choice if you want to stay there 3, 4, or 5 breath cycles. Otherwise, release your right cheek on the floor, drop your shoulders, and then totally relax here. You want to very purposely soften the neck and shoulders, and then let your breath collapse. Take that breath that supports you. Notice that influx of energy in the body. So your body is relaxed, yet you can still remain attentive and aware as you soften your body. If you ever have trouble concentrating, just lengthen your inhale and your exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. Three more breaths here. At any point, sighing out. Start to shift your hands to frame your chest. We're going to prepare for our bow pose. So first, we'll take our hands out, bend our knees, and then lift your chest as high as you can here. Hold here. Now you can remain doing this, keeping your hands shooting out behind you, or you can grab your ankles with your hands. Now, here you want to purposely kick back, draw your shoulder blades together, and then release. Be careful with your lower back. 2 more times, inhale up. You're stretching throughout the quad muscles as well, glutes as well. Release. And then third round, inhale up. Stay there another breath. Release your legs. And then left cheek on the floor or opposite cheek one last time. Then once more, soften the body. Inhale. Exhale, about 5 breaths here. Noticing we can both be relaxed in our bodies, yet also attentive and aware. Increase the length of your inhale and your exhale. Notice that increased circulation in the body from the practice. Place extra attention on your breath. Noticing our breath is our vehicle in uniting the physical, mental, emotional body. One more breath here. Start to shift your hands to frame your chest. Lift up into an upward facing dog, lengthening there throughout the spine, stretching the abdomen, and then downward facing dog. We'll shift into one last little vinyasa of the class. From downward facing dog, shift into your plank pose. On an exhale, release all the way down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog, tops of the feet on the floor. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Now, as you lift into your down dog, one last sequence. We're going to lift our left leg, bend our left knee, stack your hips. You're grounding through your palms here. Left knee towards that left elbow. Invite a generous breath here. And then lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Left knee towards that right elbow. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. And release down towards the floor. Or release your foot down towards the floor. Take a breath here before we transition here. Now our right side, lift that leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. So you move as quickly or as slowly as you want here. Right knee towards that right elbow, you hover, lifting your core up towards the ceiling. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. And now right knee towards that left elbow. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release that foot down towards the floor. Drop your knees on the floor and then step back into your child's pose. We'll invite a more active child's pose. We'll take that left hand towards the right corner of your mat. Hold here, elbows lifted. And then release that hand. Now, right hand inches towards the left corner of your mat. And then release your hand here. Ground both palms on the floor. Lift into your downward facing, not downward, into your tabletop. So you're making sure your hands are right beneath your shoulders. Take one cow and hat pose, inhaling up. Exhaling, rounding your spine. And now press that right hand onto the floor. Lift your left arm towards the ceiling. We're preparing for a needle pose. Left shoulder comes onto the mat. And now lift that right arm up towards the ceiling and hold. Now you can either keep that arm lifted or rest that hand on your lower back. Release your hand down towards the floor. Inhale up, cow pose. Exhale, round your spine, cat pose. Now we'll press that left palm onto the floor, lift our right arm up, and now release that shoulder onto the mat. Lift your left arm up towards the ceiling, either keeping your arm lifted or you can release that hand on your lower back. Deep belly breath. Release your hand down towards the floor. And then last cat and cow pose. Inhaling up. Exhaling, rounding your spine. Then start to release the pose. We'll come to sit and then lengthen our legs out. You want to shift your legs into the shape of a V. And now shift your chest towards that right foot. And same principle here. You can keep your spine long, lead with your chest, your heart, fold. You can invite a little bend to your left knee. Hold here. Anywhere 3 to 5 breaths. Focus on left hip, left glute, hamstring, down behind your knees to your calf. You can flex that left foot for a more intense stretch. Soften your belly, draw your shoulders down, and then release. Now shift your chest. You want to be very purposeful about here, twisting towards the left, leading through your chest, folding down. Little bend to that right knee, up to you and how much you want to flex that right foot. Your hands can reach anywhere. Notice where you're holding onto some tension. See if you can release. One more breath. Release, come back to center. From here, we're going to fold forward. You're going to allow a little bend to your knees. And I recommend just taking your hands in front or just take your hands in front and then start to inch forward. And just see how much you can fold. Now you're paying attention to both legs and also down to the groin area. Either flexing your feet or relaxing your feet. Two more breaths. Release the pose. Start to shift into a regular seated position, whether that's cross-legged or on your ankles. If you need to stretch your legs out in front, you can. Invite that mindfulness you can practice throughout the class, activating core, spine long. One of the purposes of our yoga practice is to familiarize the body with being more active as well. We tend to collapse our spine and our core strength throughout the day. Notice that simple awareness, that activation lengthens the spine. Draw your shoulders down. And then a mini meditation of appreciation and gratitude. We inhale and we exhale for our experiences thus far. And take a breath for the experience of this moment.
We take a breath for our future experiences. Inhale here. Feel free to exhale, sigh it out. And now start to drop your chin towards your chest, neck rolls here. Chin towards your shoulder, either full circle or half a circle. So as we move throughout our day, we tend to crunch up around neck and shoulders, upper back. I really want to take an opportunity here to notice what feels tense, what feels sore. Quickly, slowly, you can broaden your awareness from your upper back to your mid back. This affects not just the neck. And then if you prefer to work on meditation, go ahead and work on meditation, bringing your head back to a neutral position. We'll be here quite a few breath cycles. Allow yourself to deepen, to relax, to physically let go. Also build that bridge of the mental, emotional body, letting that go as well. Any tension in the mental and emotional space. Another breath or two. Head comes back to that neutral position. Take your hands to your knees if you're in a cross-legged position. If you're in your ankles, take your hands to your thighs. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears, draw them down a few times. So I'm lifting up, and as I draw down, I purposely draw my shoulder blades closer together. Elbows remain close to your torso. And then try a few rounds lifting up your shoulders and rolling them forward. It's a different sensation. We don't normally move this direction. Move around. Release your hands. Lift your arms up overhead. Interlace your fingers, palms up. Now round your spine, chin towards chest. Separate your shoulder blades here. Tuck your chin towards your chest, round your spine. And then release. Lengthen your legs out in front. For workout here, we're going to lengthen our palms up towards the ceiling, or lengthen our arms, palms up towards the ceiling. So I'm going to be activating glutes and quads here for extra support as my core does a lot of the work here. Slowly roll down, chin towards chest, and hover. Now your feet can float off the floor. And then release. Inhale here, exhale, side out. Bend your left knee, extend that left leg up towards the ceiling. Interlace your fingers behind your knee. Flex that right foot towards the front. Rotate your ankle clockwise, counterclockwise. A few moments there. Hold.
Bring your thigh closer towards your belly, your chest. And you can start to just lengthen your leg out in front, or you can start to sway your leg towards the right and then towards the left to intensify your stretch around the lower back and hips and glutes. You can continue that sway back and forth. If you feel the good spot that you want to focus on, go ahead and focus on that spot. And then release that leg slowly down towards the floor. Opposite side, bend your right knee. Lengthen your leg up towards the ceiling. Now flex that left foot towards the front of the room. Rotate your ankle clockwise, counterclockwise. Take a few moments there. Stretching the toes, tops of the feet, heels. You can broaden that stretch into the calf muscle by pressing your heel up as much as you can. And now you can start to focus on that right hamstring. Bring your leg closer towards you. You can have a little bend to your knee or extend your leg. Just make sure you're not locking your knee. And then your choice, sway towards the left and towards the right. Either keeping that sway, or if you find a point to focus on, go ahead and do that. Breathe into whatever is opening for you. Notice your boundary. Breathe into that boundary. To the best of your ability, keep your neck and your shoulders relaxed. Deep belly breath. Bring your leg back to center. Bend both knees. Grip your feet with your hands. Start to lengthen your legs. You can bend one knee more than the other. You can rock to the left, to the right. You want to get that final stretch from your feet down your calves, hamstrings. You can even massage that lower back and that mid back by rocking to the left and right. Take whatever you need here. A few moments. And then we'll start to shift down into our final resting pose. However, if there's one more pose you need to feel more complete for the class, go ahead and take a moment for that last pose. So whether you're exploring one last pose or starting to settle into your Shavasana, notice your breath. Invite your breath to be a vehicle to bridge your physical, mental, emotional body. And also use your breath to help you when you're working in your flexibility, your strength, your balance, or in Shavasana, you're focusing on the relaxation. How does the breath assist you in that process? Notice we're cultivating a practice and we're cultivating an awareness of our body. We're training ourselves to check in continuously over a period of time to make the adjustments we need, to be more flexible, to feel stronger, and to increase that sense of well-being. Soften your forehead, jaw, neck, and shoulders. Down the length of your arms, especially softening the palms, the fingertips. It's a good metaphor here. Our hands tend to clench onto so much. So it's nice to experience a physical sensation, a very purposely relaxing. Soften down the back, upper back, mid back, lower back, down to your hips. And down the length of your legs, behind your knees to your ankles and toes. And then take one generous breath, deep belly breath, inhale, and then exhale, side out. The same deep breath you can return to throughout your day. And either practice some long, intentional deep breaths or let your breath be natural, no control of the breath. We'll start to shift our attention back to our breath, inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale. You can restore some movement to your fingertips and your toes. And start to invite a full body stretch, lifting your arms up overhead, pointing your toes.
And or you can turn your body to the left or to the right and allow it to remain heavy and relaxed. Once again, we return to a generous and a leisurely breath, a very particular type of breath. And after another breath, you can start to make your way up to your seat, cross-legged on your ankles, or stretch your legs out in front. You've been practicing presence and awareness throughout the class to see whatever little adjustments you can invite to demonstrate that extra awareness. It could be your core more activated, it could be your shoulders drawn down a little bit more. It could be an extra awareness of your breath. And then we'll take a moment to appreciate and gratitude our breath, noticing that by taking time and being present with our breath, it means that we're being present with our experience and we welcome it, no matter how it feels. Just noticing, observing, and cultivating that compassion for ourselves and for others. So we'll seal the class, taking our hands to our heart center. And then in gratitude, we inhale here. And we exhale. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. Namaste.